June 9th will be here before you know it, and for Las Vegans, this primary is about a lot more than just one race. In fact, more than 516 positions are on the ballot, from who runs the state of Nevada all the way down to who sits on your local municipal court bench. Today on CityCast Las Vegas, we're here with our creative producer, Jacob Solis, to break down what you actually need to know before you vote. We dive into some of the spicier races on the local front, but for our CityCast Las Vegas neighbors, we've got an extended version of the episode, diving even deeper into the marquee matchup that is the governor's race. It's Wednesday, May 5th. I'm Jesse Merrick, and here's what Las Vegas is talking about. Now, before we get into today's show, we're in the final stretch of our spring membership campaign, so it's really crunch time for all of us here at CityCast Las Vegas. We've got just 3 days left to hit our goal of 95 new members, so we need you to help us get there. Because the more neighbors who join our community, the stronger that community gets, which allows us to dig deeper and continue to hold the decision makers in our city accountable and have more honest conversations about what we could be doing better. But Jacob, you know it's not just all doom and gloom. We have a lot of fun here on the podcast as well, right?
We have a tremendous amount of fun. We have food conversations. We have drinks conversations. We have history conversations. And frankly, where else are you going to get a whole episode about whether or not strip club food is worth it?
So, nowhere else.
That's what I have to say.
Yeah, you can't beat those conversations. And again, you're not getting those anywhere but CityCast Las Vegas. We pride ourselves on celebrating what makes life here in Vegas great and unique. I mean, again, you're not getting that type of conversation in many other cities around the country, that's for sure. And the more you guys who do sign up to become our neighbors, the more power we have to build a bigger and just better overall community that doesn't just live here, but also shows up in Vegas day in and day out to really impact our community here. And the perks don't just stop there. By becoming a CityCast Las Vegas neighbor, you also get ad-free listening, bonus podcast segments, and access to our members-only events as well. Those things are so much fun. Plus, if you sign up before our spring membership campaign ends on Friday, you'll get your hands on one of our limited edition CityCast Las Vegas Oxford pennants that comes in a cool desert sand colorway. Have you gotten a look at this one yet, Jacob?
I have, actually, and if anyone wants to see them, I think they're on our Instagram, right? They're these, I keep saying they're taupe, but I've been told to say they're desert sand.
We've been debating the color, but regardless, they're sick. It'll look great in your home or office. Any wall you choose to throw it on, you'll love it. So definitely go check it out. Like I said, get a peek at that. Go check out our Instagram page. And then also, too, afterwards, when we've convinced you to join, make sure you jump on over to membership.citycast.fm/Las Vegas. Again, that's membership.citycast.fm/Las Vegas to sign up to become one of our neighbors. And while you're doing that, we will dive into our 2026 primaries primer for you. All right, Jacob, the primaries are coming up just under a month away, right? And look, the low-hanging fruit in this is the governor's race. Obviously, we're going to talk about that because it is still very important, but there's a whole lot of spiciness going on in a lot of the local races here. So as we kind of start the conversation there, what are some of the races that really caught your attention? Because again, this seems like Vegas politics, to a T with all the insane, things going on in the bars back and forth between all these people.
And you'd be right. Primary politics are nasty politics by definition. Look, it's candidates in their own party attacking each other because they want to be on the ballot in November. And so
which is just, as an aside, I hate to jump in here, it's just wild to me because it's like, okay, you're going to tear someone down from your own party, and then the winner from that emerges with all their scars out for everybody to see. And then it's like, hey, pick this person after I just ripped them apart.
Coming out a wounded animal in some ways.
Yeah.
But so that's why I think we're seeing a lot of that in this year's primaries, and frankly, in a lot of local primaries. The one I want to zero in on first, if you live in that district, you might have heard of it. This is the Clark County Commission District F. So, for anyone who doesn't know, the Clark County Commission is maybe the most powerful local board in the entire state of Nevada, more powerful than any city council and any other county commission. They control the Las Vegas Strip. They're a big deal.
So that's why.
Yes, the county commission historically, and certainly the last couple of decades, has been controlled by Democrats. Now, Republicans see an opportunity because Justin Jones, the former Democratic commissioner there, says he is not running for re-election after a scandal in which he deletes text messages related to an investigation that was development in Red Rock. It's a whole thing. If those words mean anything to people listening, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, I would recommend looking it up. It's quite complicated. In any case, Justin Jones sort of sees the writing on the wall, says, I'm not going to run. This leaves the door wide open. So 2 Republicans are trying to replace him, Heidi Kasama and Albert Mack. Now, Heidi Kasama is like a longtime legislator, very sort of run-of-the-mill Republican in Nevada, backed by Governor Lombardo, backed by a lot of money. Mac, however, has some support. He is backed specifically by Clark County Sheriff Kevin McMahill. So he's not nobody. And you may recognize the Mac last name from the Thomas and Mac. He is of that family, yes. So they both got money. They're both spending a lot of money, and they're both slinging a lot of mud.
And so where does that mudslinging start? Because I've seen some of the billboards around town. I believe Mac is the guy with the one of him with the alien and Elvis Presley. Like, what's the deal with all of that?
Yeah, the alien and Elvis Presley is a funny one in particular because this comes from the fact that Mac did used to be a Democrat, and he sat on a lot of like UNLV boards, and so he ended up interacting with a lot of politicians, one of whom was Hillary Clinton. So in 2014, Mac tweets that he had dinner, quote unquote, because it was this UNLV Foundation dinner with Hillary Clinton, and he called her the next president of the United States. It was a different world in 2014. I just have to put that out there.
Good caveat.
So Kasama's campaign jumps on that, says that he's not a real Republican. They Photoshop like his head on like the I'm with her shirts with like the Hillary H, if anyone remembers that from 2016. So he has to defend himself essentially by saying it's all fake. That's all fake. So that's with him and the alien and Elvis. It's like, oh, you see me with the Hillary shirt? That's just as fake as me with an alien and Elvis. So frankly, the wilder thing is that Kasama's campaign started circulating this clip of Mac partying on a boat. I'm not sure
this one's crazy.
Yeah. Okay. So this clip has been deleted from the internet, but it shows him on a party boat in 2022. I guess I'll quote the Nevada Independent story to make sure I'm dotting my I's and crossing my T's.
Got to cover yourself here.
Yeah. It shows Mac shirtless walking past two bikini-clad women dancing on a pole on the deck of a boat and making a swiping motion with his hand toward one of them. Kasama has said that impugns Mac's character. Mac says that it's been taken, out of context, weaponized against him, and means nothing. I mean, this is like sort of classically nasty politicking, because as you notice, I have not mentioned a policy position of either of these two people yet.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing that's crazy about all this barbing back and forth is like where they stand on the actual issues is like just forgotten. And instead it's like who's got the wildest origin story or like the dirtiest past.
Oh, totally secondary. So yeah, and I think with the Clark County Commission in particular too, it's a weird one because the county commission, they're not doing like partisan politics necessarily. It's a lot of like working with developers. Who's pro-business enough to hang on the county commission? There is like a long-running joke that any county commissioner would never be elected to higher office because they would have to muddy themselves so much by doing the dirty business of wheeling and dealing on the developing side. And I think Steve Sisolak was the first person to actually ever break that curse, you can call it. But in any case, that race is a mess, and I guess we can leave that there for now.
Well, I am curious before we do that, like, is there anything going on the Democratic side? Because these are both Republicans, right?
Yes. And on the Democratic side, frankly, the most interesting thing is that Justin Jones has been putting money into PACs to try and influence the outcome of that election. There are actually like 7 candidates. Jones has funneled a bunch of money to a nonprofit director named Mindy Lloyd. And she's really got one well-funded opponent, a woman named Lena Hovanson. I'm very sorry for butchering that. I did not look up how to read that before.
Names are hard,
speaking.
Okay?
But she is endorsed by Representative Dina Titus, who's been in the House for a long time. So once again, the differences between these candidates are often very minor. In a race like county commission, it's hard to differentiate yourself along partisan lines because they're not really doing like partisan politicking that often. So who knows how either race is going to end up.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, the Republicans seem to be very confident, though, they're going to be able to flip that seat. And I'm just curious, again, though, like with all the barbs going back and forth, do you think it ultimately comes down to like the actual policy and where people stand, or the people that are running stand? Or is it more about like who's got the less dirty past?
I think the most interesting thing this year is frankly going to be what the economy looks like in November and whether or not an R or a D next to your name becomes the only thing that matters. Gas prices, I'm sure everyone has seen, not good.
Not good at all.
Generally the party in power when gas prices are bad does not succeed. So if Republicans, are in the White House, does Trump affect something as small as a county commission race? It could happen. I think they obviously see blood in the water with this whole Justin Jones thing and then, corruption. But There's this old saying that all politics is local. That may be less true than ever, especially in a year like this, where the dynamics are all over the place, especially because there's no presidential election.
Just screams Vegas politics in a nutshell there. It seems like in North Las Vegas, there's an interesting lawsuit going on about term limits that has kind of muddied the waters there.
Yeah, see, this one is interesting in sort of a technical way, and forgive me for being interested in the technical stuff, but so...
Hey, I am too, it's okay.
There are term limits in Nevada, and this is a fascinating thing. People who are anti-term limits, very few and far between, by the way, mostly just elected officials, will say that it contributes to like brain drain, that like people who are experienced politicians who know how the levers work can't keep being politicians and then are forced to like hop to a bunch of different jobs. Well, now in North Las Vegas, a seasoned assemblywoman, or assembly member rather, Danielle Monroe Moreno, she is the head of the state Democratic Party as well, is running against Scott Black. Now, he has been a city councilor in North Las Vegas for 9 years. And there is now an open legal question, which Black has been sued over whether or not, because he's been city councilor for 9 years, if he's mayor for another 4, does that run afoul of the state's term limit laws? So we actually don't know the answer to this question. And Monroe Moreno, for the record, has said that she was not involved with that lawsuit, but she has attacked Black, calling him a one-term mayor, even if he does win. Just like, it's just one of those things where it's like, when these two candidates are frankly, they're not too dissimilar, right? They have a lot of similar ideas, and where they differ is often in the minutia. And so when you have a campaign, you start seeing stuff like this, where it's like, look at my opponent, Mr. One Term. And, it's like, well, what does that mean? I don't know. Well, and also I don't live in North Las Vegas, so I leave it to North Las Vegans to figure that one out.
Hey listeners, it's your host Jesse. We'll get back to the show in just a sec, but real quick, I want to tell you about something we just added for our CityCast Las Vegas neighbors that I'm so stoked about. Every Friday, after the regular show wraps, neighbors get access to an exclusive bonus segment and a special members-only ad feed. And no, I'm not talking about filler content, okay? I'm talking about the stuff that I actually want to say, but doesn't necessarily always fit into the regular show, like deeper dives into the hottest local happenings or insider tips to get you set for the weekend ahead. This is for the listeners who really want to dig deeper into the city with me and the rest of our CityCast team as well. If that's you, become a CityCast Las Vegas neighbor. You'll get the Friday bonus segment, plus ad-free listening, invites to members-only events, a weekly preview of the best things happening around the city, and so much more. It's $10 a month or $100 a year, and it goes directly to supporting this show and the team of locals who make it happen every day. You can read more and become a CityCast Las Vegas neighbor at membership.citycast.fm/Las Vegas. Again, that's membership.citycast.fm/Las Vegas. After you become one of our neighbors, I'll see you in the bonus segment. We've got the controversy in our first one. Now we just have like hey, okay, let's figure out math. Now let's go back to some controversy. Mix it back up a little bit here. The Henderson City Council race. This one we talked a bit with Una Milliken probably about a week and a half ago or so on the podcast. So if you guys want a deeper dive on that, make sure you check that out. But give people the cliff notes here, because again, this is another juicy one where it's like, forget the policies, let's go attack each other.
Yeah, this one also a mess, because basically Carrie Cox is the incumbent city councilwoman in Henderson, and she has made a name for herself by basically hating all of the other city council members. She has accused them of not being on the up and up, essentially, that they're, taking backroom deals and all these things. And she's an outsider working for the Hendersonites. And over time, she has alienated herself from every other city council member, including the mayor, Michelle Romero, who has now spent plenty of money to try and defeat Carrie Cox and prop up her preferred candidate, who is another sort of like in the ecosphere of Republican candidates who are sort of moderate, backed by Lombardo and other things. And just to be clear, Carrie Cox is running against another Republican, Annette Dawson Owens, and a Democrat, Jennifer Atlas. Though the way that city races work, they're all technically nonpartisan, so there's not going to be a D or an R next to their name. The fascinating thing, frankly, is just whether or not Cox has the juice purely as like an outsider. Henderson is a strange place as a city. Like, all of its congressional representatives are Democrats, but all of the city representatives are all Republicans, but the county commissioner is a Democrat. It doesn't make any sense to me based on where the lines are drawn or how anyone votes. So yeah, we will see where that goes. I guess to finalize the cliff notes, Cox is being like sued. There's like felony charges against her for illicitly recording something while she was hiding behind a curtain. Highly recommend people go listen to the episode for the full details there, because, I mean, there's just so much.
Yes. Again, one of the many layers that is Vegas politics, Henderson politics, you name it. And so, look, we've hit on, North Las Vegas, Henderson. Obviously, we've got Vegas as well. There's people that live all over the valley. For the folks that aren't necessarily in Henderson or North Las Vegas, why should they care about what's going on in each of those? I guess, what are the ripple effects?
Yeah, and I think the interesting thing is that, first of all, city politics has an impact at that local level, right? Where you think about what kind of developments come to my city, right? In North Las Vegas or in Henderson, that starts at the city council level. I think one of the interesting things in North Las Vegas is whether or not they are going to pursue data centers as a means of economic prosperity or
That's a hot topic for sure.
Yeah, people have lots of opinions about data centers. And so I think we have seen both mayoral candidates up there, Monroe Moreno and Scott Black, talk about data centers and talk about, in the minutia here, but the different ways that they would approach something like a data center. Same deal in Henderson, right? And certainly we've seen in Boulder City, data centers become a huge conversation. But energy, revitalization, fixing blight, cracking down on crime, all of these things are in the water. So even if those particular races aren't, on your ballot necessarily, I think it's helpful to think through, like, okay, what does the county commission do for me? Well, the county commission does a lot, and it's worth looking at the candidates who are going to be on your ballot to see what you want in local government.
Gotcha. So there's just layers to it. Again, what happens in one area is going to impact and maybe bleed into your spot as well, just in terms of crime and stuff like that. And as we're getting ready for this, I'm reading up on a lot of the, primaries and things like that. And one thing that does keep coming up is that labor unions are trying to primary Democrats. What exactly is going on there?
Yeah, so this is extended fallout from the film tax credits bill from last year. I'm not sure if you remember all this beef, but I guess for the listeners at home,
Hollywood 2.0.
Oh yeah, Hollywood Summerlin Studios, baby. So the legislature in 2025 has this big expansive deal, quote unquote, with Warner Brothers and Sony to build a big studio out in Summerlin in exchange for a tremendous amount of state dollars via tax credits. This ends up being highly controversial for a lot of reasons, not the least of which it would have probably bankrupted the state in by the 2030s. But
that's not good.
No, not good. But on the flip side, it would have created a lot of jobs. And one of the beneficiaries of those jobs would have been labor unions doing a lot of construction on these studio projects that need to be built. And so we saw the laborers union, Laborers 872, the carpenters, all those construction trades back the studio bill, especially once the studio issue was revived in a special session late last year. And that was extremely messy and ended with the studio bill dying by just a handful of votes in the Senate in like a late night vote, extremely dramatic. And the laborers unions were terrifically upset. They were so mad. And so they unendorsed about a half dozen candidates, including a handful of Democrats, and vowed to oppose them in this year's elections. And lo and behold, they've done exactly that. So a couple here I can run through real quick. Senator Edgar Flores in Senate District 2, his opponent Isaac Barron has gotten $20,000 from PACs affiliated with Laborers 872. And this one has actually raised some red flags, or some yellow flags at least, because...
Pay attention here. That's what that screams, yeah.
Yeah, there are contribution limits. You're not allowed to just give an unlimited amount of money to people in Nevada. You can give an unlimited amount of money to PACs, and PACs can spend money however they want, but the campaigns can only accept so much. And so $20,000 is about twice as much as the total limit as you're allowed to give. And instead they used like a network of sort of quasi-affiliated PACs to do it.
Oh,
that not ideal. You don't love to see that.
Tax season just passed. Come on.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing here?
That still needs to be adjudicated by the Secretary of State. And, the way these complaints work, it's all very slow, but it certainly raises an eyebrow. But it, I think, is indicative, too, of what the labor unions are doing here. They see people that they had endorsed in the past, that they're mad over film tax credits, and they say, well, this is the punishment. Just to run real quick, I guess I'll roll through. In Assembly District 15, Assembly Member Howard Watts, who's a progressive, also has a progressive challenger who has, yes, been backed by the building trades and has got a bunch of money from them, too. In Assembly District 6, Assembly Member Jovan Jackson, also progressive, now is being challenged by actually a union carpenter who's gotten tens of thousands of dollars from the building trades unions. And the other thing, though, is that there are a bunch of Republicans who got unendorsed by the building trades, but it's like the building trades don't really have levers to pull against Republicans. They can't influence those races as easily, except. And I don't even think this counts as an edge case. This is just weird. You remember Monroe Moreno? She's an assembly member. She's running in North Las Vegas for the mayor. Okay, well, she's vacating Assembly District 1 to do that. A bunch of people have fled into that race, including a guy named Big Lou DeSalvio from Laborers Local 8.
Big Lou DeSalvio. I love that name.
Big Lou. This is according to the Nevada Current.
That's great.
He changed his party from Republican to Democrat, and it is, how much of a Democrat is he? Well, this from the Nevada Current story. He tweeted in 2019, since deleted, quote, "I would trust Pee Wee Herman sitting behind me at the movies while on a date with OJ, drinking at Bill Cosby's bar with Flint, Michigan ice cubes after taking an elevator with Ray Rice, all while Casey Anthony babysat for me before I would ever trust any Democrat running for president."
Wow.
So,
there's a lot to unpack in there.
much to unpack, not the least of which that was deleted before he declared his candidacy as a Democrat in that race. So, I mean, who knows? All to say, a lot of stuff comes out in the primary. A lot of stuff gets shaken out of the couch cushions.
Yeah, at the very least, pay attention to it. It's like the ugliest, version of Survivor as everybody coming out of it. They're going at each other's throats, and then just all the wild behind-the-scenes stuff that accompanies it. Obviously, too, like during the primaries, voter turnout is usually pretty low. I'm curious for the people that haven't actually voted in a primary before, because again, there's not many people that come out and do it. What do they need to know to make sure that their vote does count on June 9th?
I think if you are at all interested in voting in a primary in Nevada, you need to understand that you need to be a registered partisan. You got to be a Democrat or you got to be a Republican. We have closed primaries here. So if you are one of the I think it's 37 or 38%, a large proportion of Nevadans who are registered nonpartisans, you are excluding yourself from the primary system. It is unfair to you. Sorry. them's the breaks.
Yeah.
But we have a closed system, so you got to play by the rules of the system. Now, you can re-register online. You can do it day of, but that's like the thing to know.
That's why. But that's why you listen to CityCast, so you find that out, so you can make sure that your vote counts, right?
Exactly. And look, make sure if you're at all worried, vote early. You can check your voter registration online, check your voter card. They should have mailed it to you. If you didn't get in the mail, check your address with the county register and make sure it's updated. So you get not just the right ballot or the ballot goes to your place, but that you get an updated ballot with all the races that are for where you live.
Yeah, exactly. So just to clarify on this, May 23rd is when the early voting period begins. It runs through June 5th, and Election Day is June 9th. So, just make sure you have those dates circled on your calendar as you get ready to, dive into all of this. Jacob, thank you for kind of clarifying things and giving people the dirty gossip, hitting on the policies, all that good stuff to make sure everybody is primed for the primaries.
Anytime. Happy to help.
That's all for today here on CityCast Las Vegas. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell a friend? Rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our free morning newsletter as well. And before we go, I want to thank a couple of our new neighbors, Phyllis R., Victoria H., Caroline A., Aaron J., Lisa O., and Debbie T. All of you joined on recently. We can't thank you enough for joining the party. And don't forget, you can support this show and get great perks like that limited edition pennant and an extended cut of this episode by becoming a CityCast Las Vegas neighbor at membership.citycast.fm/Las Vegas. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Until then, though, take care.